Okay folks, welcome back. We're now starting our finishing part. I've got the violin stand in front of me. I've already coated these areas here with epoxy to stop the bleeding when I put the other black epoxy in, so it doesn't bleed out. The next thing that we kind of need to do is do a little bit of masking over here so that epoxy doesn't get into this groove, and then mask off these lines here so the epoxy doesn't get in there. And the way we do that is I use clay, and it doesn't take a lot. I've got just a little bit here, so just take a little bit of clay and we'll just stick it in these grooves. And all I do is just kind of smear it across so that it's in the grooves. For the very fact, as long as this is in the grooves, the epoxy can't get in the grooves. And that's kind of what we want, is we don't want the epoxy in the grooves. We want the epoxy in the other locations. So if we just kind of smear it in the grooves, we don't have to worry about it going other places. And all I do is just kind of get her in there, and then what we'll do is we'll take our X-Acto knife and clean it up. Probably want to put some up here too, so that it doesn't get in there. Because this stuff will have a tendency to run a little bit. So, got those done. We can put a little up here to help this out. And that's all I do to that. I'll put some masking tape also over there so that I don't have to put clay all over the place. I want to get all these places that I don't want it to go covered up. For the very fact, it'll get into the pores and it'll be just terrible to get out. Again, all I'm trying to do is make it so that it doesn't get over the raw wood and stain it. The more you cover things up, the less you gotta do later to clean it up. So try to cover up as much as you can. Pretty good now. Okay, I'm pretty good with that. Now the only other thing we have to do is come in here and get rid of this clay that's in our way. And basically what I do is just take this little spatula and kind of pick it out of there. That'll do a good enough job. The only thing is that we just don't want the clay in there, because wherever it is the black epoxy won't stick, so gotta kind of go in and get rid of it. Okay, I think we're ready to start epoxying. Okay, welcome back. I've got all my taping and clay work done, and we're ready to put some epoxy down. So why don't we go do that? Just a little touch up here. I missed it. Okay, let's go ahead and mix our epoxy up. I'm using a 2-part epoxy with a black dye on it. This happens to be a Lumelite product. And it's a 1-to-1 mix ratio. So I think this is probably going to take a couple ounces. So what we'll do is put in 1 ounce of each of the part A and the part B. And you have about 2 minutes to get this mixed and get it poured. And we'll put a few drops of black in it. Popsicle stick and mix it up. You want to mix this up real thoroughly, because if anything is going to mess it up, it'll be not mixed up thoroughly. Need some more black in there. If anything will make it soft, it's not mixing it. Make sure you scrape your sides real good and you mix this thoroughly. The better you mix it, the better it's going to do. And it will begin to get warm, so that's part of the deal. It's a thermal curing, so you need the heat, and that's part of the chemical reaction is the heat. And like I said, you gotta mix it thoroughly. Scrape the sides real good and mix it well. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pour it. Pour my F-holes first. And you don't have to be crazy about it. All you need to do is fill it up. Hello folks, welcome back. While you were gone, we sanded this down to 120 and we put some grain filler in it, and we're now ready to put some sanding sealer on it. And then after that, we'll put a couple coats of that on, sand down between each coat with 220, and then come back and do our string lines, and then we're ready to start putting final coats on. So let's get this going. It's just a water-based sanding sealer. All we got to do is let it dry now. So I'll see you back after I put another couple coats on. Lightly sanded it. We'll be back to put the neck and body together, and then we're ready to paint our strings on and clear coat the whole thing. So see you when that's all done. Everybody, I got the sanding sealer on. I've sanded one coat, put another coat on, and now what I'm going to do is lightly spray some brown in these little grooves, and then I'll put another coat of sealer down. So what I'm going to do is take my airbrush, Okay, welcome back. I've already put a coat of sealer down, sanded it, and put another coat down. Now I'm ready to do a little bit of color in these lines here. What I'm going to do is take my airbrush, take a little brown, and all I'm going to do is lightly spray into these areas. That'll just give a little definition to this line. That's all I'm trying to do. Okay, we'll let that dry and then we'll continue on. We'll mount the neck to the body and then we'll clear coat everything. I will now sand everything down to 220. See you when we get back for the next step.